Hey.
Well, hey there.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey. Nadia is out of office, so she won't be joining, I believe, today.
I think she left some agenda items to go over.
Do you want to take lead and read through them, Juan?
Yeah, I'll do that. All right. It says read only. I don't know what that means, but I think she was just saying like, first of all, the engagement survey results, she created an issue and she wants us to go over that and kind of like leave our feedback, our thoughts on that. I already did mine. I think I still wanted to put more stuff, but it's basically, as you guys know, there's like in the engagement survey results, there's like some areas of improvement. So I think the idea is just to go there and see how we can keep improving on top of those things. So yeah, if you haven't done it, please do it. Create an issue for retrospective and feedback. Oh yeah, this is another one. So we have been, as you guys know, we have been doing the review sessions, which I think are amazing. I mean, they have been super helpful for me. So it's probably the same thing. It's basically the same thing as the other one, just kind of like leaving some feedback on that to see how we can improve that. So we should go and just jump into that and like leave comments. I haven't done that, so I'll probably, I'm just gonna put there to do. All right. Another item she left there is how can we help product designers to contribute more easily to beautifying our UI OKR? What are some things that we can struggle with? Basically what we can do to make this better. I don't know like what ideas you guys have regarding this. I personally have been taking items of that OKR, that epic, and I have been helping other people to kind of like take items as well. There's easy stuff, there's hard stuff, there's things that is just going into a style sheet and changing like a class or something, but there's also like things that like require like you to like dig into the backend and make changes in the backend. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we'll begin. So I dedicated myself to one issue, and it was, back then I hadn't looked since the epic itself. It was the only issue that did not have a dedicated assignee taking on that issue. My intent, however, with that epic was that I was going to propose some issues to it. But when doing, or at least proposing one issue, I got the feedback inside of that epic that the scope was already defined, and preferably we should not add new content that is ideally would be delivered inside of this epic's time scope. So it is kind of like the effort that has currently been defined in the epic is seen as final as far as I know, and there should not be new items added. And as all issues inside already are either completed or have somebody assigned, there are no new opportunities to add to that epic / OKR.
Yeah, I also heard that, but I'm not entirely sure that's true because I see Marcel adding new items all the time. So
I believe he has he ownership of that epic because it is. All right, so he is adding new ones. So I requested of him like, hey, do you think this is a good idea? Then like I can pinpoint to the comment he created inside of the epic where he stated that the scope is kind of final. At least that's what I got out of it.
Got it. So perhaps what's going on is that when he sees an issue and he believes it's still within the scope of it, because it happens all the time. Like it happened to me that I fixed something and that broke something else. So that becomes like a new beautifying issue that like definitely you gotta like solve within the context of that. And perhaps he's also adding like critical ones that we missed. So I think the conclusion out of this is like the scope is pretty well defined. All the items are already assigned and picked. I think we should just maybe check with Marcel, like regarding if like new items are gonna come, and if that's the case, then we can like basically revisit this. But at this point, I think like contributions to that epic are a little bit limited. I have a couple of items assigned, and I already kind of like merged like 5. So I took a bunch, but maybe what Natty is suggesting here is that like more product designers should be involved and contributing. And I don't know if there's gonna be a space or like opportunities for for other product designers to get involved, especially within the current scope. So
yeah, I think this is a good action item for Nadia to check out with Marcel.
So yeah, we definitely, let's take it offline and see what we can find out about the scope of these, and if there's more opportunities, then we can touch base again on these. All right. How can we communicate our capacity for UX research slash research work to PMs to make sure we set clear expectations on how much design and research work we can do? Actually, that's an interesting question. So maybe Dimitri, you can, since you have the most tenure here, you can like talk a little bit about these.
I would have, I would, and I will, but perhaps my intention was to perhaps ask Jackie as she joined this meeting as product manager to see, like, to give her first opinions or expectations towards it. Like, how do you like to be communicated towards in terms of like capacity? What are your expectations? How much we can take on? Those kind of things.
Yeah. I would say from an expectation standpoint, I like to work with designers very upstream of every milestone that I would have. So like Mike and I have been partnering pretty closely on understanding what is going to be something that we'd want to deliver in 12.8 or 12.9. So understanding what we can balance in 12.7 to make that happen. I would say we just need to always be in lockstep ahead of engineering. And I'm not quite sure on how to make that happen the best way, but I know that Mike and I connect on a weekly basis about what we can accomplish. And that's just an iteration on issues, an iteration on validation tickets, understanding what our goals are for each milestone.
All right, nice. Thank you for that. Yeah, and to facilitate that communication, what CI has been doing is actually following packages a little bit. Thank you, Ian, for giving us the idea. So Ian has set up, and he can explain more about it, but a think big session which focuses on 2 milestones out instead of the current and upcoming milestone. As to communicate these kind of efforts and plan them out, and include whatever stakeholders are necessary, including engineering. And as a side note to that, I did have a conversation in the last one, which was also the first, which like it has been growing outside of our grooming sessions, because before that it was a little bit of think big and grooming inside one, and now we're more dedicated each meeting to their own scope. But I had a discussion with Lori about that a research effort, if you include everything, so that is like a full scope research effort, it takes at minimum, so say like 1.5 milestone, 1.5 months. It's like 6 weeks of efforts. And Lori, forgive me if I don't repeat correctly, there is an opportunity to push it towards one milestone, but it is quite kind of hard, right? Like like you're limiting
Yeah.
yourself, and it is. But I do feel that the cadence of product development kind of there's a dissonance between those two phases. So if the research phase takes 1.5 months, but a product development phase takes either 1 month, 2 months, whatever. It is per month. Let's say to simplify it to that. So like it would be ideal if there would be, opportunities for them to be more in a, in a pattern that is equal, so to say. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And I would say, since everybody still is getting their feet under them for research, you would be safe to say that if a designer's going to take research on it, will probably take them 2 months, because it's not your only job. And you have to have time to plan, recruit, refine the plan, do the testing, then look at the data and say, what did I learn? And that takes a long time when it's not the only thing that's on your plate to do. So if we're looking to try to, I mean, it's still at the same cadence, but at least it's 2 to 1 instead of like at 1.5 to 1. So that's something too to keep in mind. And I know everybody on this call has been working very, very hard to align their activities with the rest of the organization. But research it just takes time, and you can do it in a month, but you have to be like precision, almost like a robot, to be like, I know exactly who I need. I know exactly what I need to talk about, what the questions are, how to word them, when I'm going to do this. I'm going to do them all in like 3 days. And then I'm going to look at all the data in a week and come up with a report. It's hard to do that when you also have other activities to do.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I think back to like the original kind of like concern that Nadia has, which is how we communicate that capacity to PMs. So I think it's clear that when there's research involved, there's kind of like this vagueness, because like, as Lori just mentioned, like if you are very disciplined, you could like do it in 1 month. But sometimes there's like, I personally have noticed that like sometimes even if you're very disciplined, there's issues recruiting participants. Like sometimes you don't have enough participants for that study or like that particular thing that you're conducting. Sometimes there's other kind of like delays in kind of like producing like the research plan. Like even like when you're interacting with your PM, I mean, like I know that my PM sometimes like suggest like, why don't we do a survey? Why don't we try to do, let's just keep this solution validation and then let's just try this thing, So, and I think like your mileage varies in that sense. So I think it's interesting because I think I can scope and I can like measure pretty well how long it's gonna take me to design something. But when like research is involved, like then it becomes very blurry. So I don't know. Like what I have been doing with my PMs is that I meet with them, and then like we go and like actually Lori and we just came from that meeting, so we go through what's with testing and my and James, the PM for testing. So we go through all the kind of like workflow items. So what's on solution, what's on problem validation, what's on solution validation, what's on design. And then that basically kind of like allows us to see like where we stand in terms of milestones. So like while we're working currently on 12.6, what's going to happen on 12.7, what's going to happen on 12.8. I'm not sure that that's still solving the problem of like communicating capacity, which is what I think Nati is trying to like solve here. But yeah, I think from what I heard, like we should come up with some baselines. So, if there's going to be full research, expect at least 1.5 milestones. If I'm going to be conducting the research, expect 2 milestones, and working backwards from that,
I've been on the baseline, which is then let's say it's 1.5 months, right? So I've been discussing with Nadia on like the possibility of, so we now have one theme to say like, all right, we do research or we do not do research. And if you do research, it's 1.5 months, which is, I think, like a lot of product designers have spoken, they will take a lot of shortcuts in order to do their research. So they will do a quick interview with a friend they know of, which is, for example, a DevOps engineer. And based on that, they will say, all right, this is like, it's kind of researched. The fidelity was super low, but it has been researched. Or we do a quick usability study, or like, which is async instead of needing to be sync and having to, document all the details. So I've been wondering about this, because when do we say something is validated? When do we argue something has, we have enough confidence in that we're choosing the right direction? And what is the right choice based on which kind of questions do we have? Can we lower the fidelity as much as possible so we can get results within 2 days and move on, basically?
Yeah.
You still need to talk to more than one person. That makes me really nervous to hear, Dimitri, that some people are doing it that way, because that is making a really nice place for a lot of assumptions to live. And if they're the right assumptions, you're great. You made the right assumption, you can move on and no one will have pain. But if you've made the wrong assumption and you spend time developing that wrong assumption, it will cause pain.
Right.
So, I do get the other piece of this is we don't have all the time in the world. We can't do a quote unquote proper study every time. And not necessarily should you either, but you've got to talk to more than one person. I talk to 3. If you can't do 5, talk to 3 and try to vary up those 3 people. Don't talk to the same 3 people from the same place or with the same role or the same experience level. Try to get a little bit of a difference from them. After talking to 3 people, if you still don't feel confident that you've got enough of a theme going on to make decisions, guess what? You're going to have to talk to more people. And that just happens. It happens to me all the time. I talk to 8 people. Everybody had something different to say. Great. So now maybe we'll do a survey, because I need more than another 8 people to give me answers on this thing. But that's kind of where the art of it comes in, and the science kind of takes a backseat, because you have to have a gut check of, do I feel confident? Is this button supposed to go there? Can people find it? Can those 3 people I talked to, can they find the button? Do they know what it's going to do? If they can find it and they know what it's going to do, then that is some good confidence for you to put that button right there and name it that label that you wanted to name it. If they don't, you're going to have to go and find out why that's not working. And you don't have enough data to do that at that point with only 3 people. That's why I'd say for you guys, for all of the designers, give yourself 2 months to do your solution validation research.
Yeah.
If you get it done earlier, mazel tov. You've got extra time. You can maybe take on another design activity. But if you don't and you need that time, you'll have given yourself that time to do it in the 2 months.
I would say that it's like most things here at GitLab, though, right? There isn't, I don't think, a prescriptive, like, it should take 2 months, because it could be a big thing, it could be a little thing, right? So to box those things into, because now it's going to be like, we just need to do this one little quick thing over here, talk to a few people about this very specific button, does it go here or here, or this label, right? Like, committing 2 months to that might be scary to a PM versus, like, we're thinking about this new feature. Should it have this, and this, right? That's like, okay, it's worth investing 2 months in that. So I think, like, what has been helpful for us is that we just started talking about research things in the same flow that we talk about everything else, like issues, we, rather than like segment it out as something else, it's like everything else. It requires planning, it requires grooming. Some things you do big things for, some things you do small things for, some things are a survey, some things are a full-on, exercise. And I think, again, going back to, I think we talked about this last week, it's like picking the right tool for the right situation.
Right.
Is going to be important here.
No, I
And
just
even a survey could take time too. So a survey is not necessarily something you can get done in 2 weeks either.
Yeah.
My
And
case in point yesterday with that damn survey.
right.
but
And
there's also issues that are like very well validated already, like that I have seen issues that have like a lot of community contributions, and they have like the problem is super clear, or like there's areas where we're doing basically catch up in terms of like feature parity, like against like other competitors, like let's say in my in like let's say in CI/CD, like we have like very clear competitors like Jenkins that have like certain features that like we know that are like important for us to have. It's just more like a matter. So I think in that sense, the research is more like how we do prioritize, and that type of research should be very light. It should be like just yeah.
I would even argue, Juan, for those things that are very clear and very prescriptive, you may not even need any validation research. It's something that's already been being used in another product. People have exactly spelled out how they want it. Do it. You don't have to run everything through the validation.
Yeah, but I have noticed that sometimes PMs, like, they are not entirely sure. Like, they have like this thing, which it's pretty important in their mind. And then they have this other thing, which is also pretty important. And then like, maybe those two items are pretty well validated in terms of like the market and the existing solutions and everything. But now they have trouble like prioritizing. And I think that's sometimes where we want to help them, at least with some sort of like, I don't know what will be the best method or like methodology to like approach that. But I think that as designers and researchers, that's sometimes things that we can enable, like help them to kind of like find the data to prioritize. But yeah, I don't know. That's just.
And sometimes that's market research too. And they just need to say like, what does the market need right now?
Yeah.
And I would look to the product manager to do that market research to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering if this is more like a pushback to the PM as a PM. I would love for Mike to be like, no, Jackie, do your job and research the market. Because I feel like that's putting a lot of burden on the design and research team to say what the market is, when I should be able to call that ball.
Yeah, and we don't do that. Like, that's not our space. We are not market researchers.
Totally.
And we don't want to define where the product should go. We want to help you define how it should be. So we look at the product. We look to the product managers to help us understand where it needs to go, and we're going to help you get there.
Yeah, I think we should be pretty complementary in that discussion. So if I ever am kind of spliced on priority because everything feels like a number one, I would likely look to design as a partner to be like, hey, am I losing my mind, or do we feel like the user would benefit from this more in this implementation style? But I guess it does depend on the issue in general. I think the solution though is to be more forward and transparent with your PM to let them know that you can't prioritize for them, but they should do the market research part.
All right. And so I think to wrap up this point, so I think the action item for everyone on this call, like researchers and designers, is be more mindful about your capacity. Think about like, you're working on this milestone. How much time do you have to do design items? How much time do you have to do problem and solution validation? There's gonna be other things that you gotta do as well, like other contributions, like in the general, like GitLab. As a company, we all are always doing things that are not necessarily on our group. So like, we're doing beautifying issues. We're like contributing to process. So just be mindful of those things. And I think what Nadia was suggesting here is like, first of all, try to understand what's your own capacity, and then be mindful about communicating that to your PMs, because I don't think our PMs understand that very well. So like, it's more a matter of communication, like communicate to your PM, like, this is what I can do, this milestone. And I think that should be a good start.
I have a last question. Sorry to
yeah, no, go ahead.
But it can be considered a separate question, but it's kind of related to the topic we've been discussing. So in the past, we have tracked our research efforts, like, has this been validated or not? Like, a certain amount of things needed to be validated in order to say like, okay, this OKR was effective, yes or no. The thing is with, for example, hey, has this issue been, has had a lot of feedback from the community? If we say like the fidelity of validation we can say, all right, we've had a lot of feedback. We're kind of sure on what to do, but we now put that under the same header as a full-on like trackable research effort with, vetted participants, etc., where community contribution can be anyone. We don't know their context or perspective, etc. And so we're kind of like we're putting them on the same level, even though the research effort is far more like it includes far more effort in order to get to that result, while a community issue like a community comment can is very little effort to get that feedback from. So the question I would like to ask, because that OKR is no longer irrelevant to our current state, is in order to track our success with validation versus non-validated issues, how do we perceive something as being validated, and do we count against all right, these features that were successful were actually based on research, and these were not. Like these were based on very little impact. These were based on a lot of, those had a lot of impact, but also a lot of effort into them, to research what was right. Is there value in that? I'm wondering about that, even though the OKR is no longer valid.
I used to, back when we had Valerie as our UX manager, I always liked her approach to that. And it was that 70% confidence. Now that may have been an arbitrary number, and that's almost impossible to qualify what 70% confidence is. But that was her take on it, that anything above 70% confidence, you don't need to test. Anything below that, you probably do need to test. And I think what really is meant by that is, if you're unsure of it, you need to test it. So going back to answer your question, Dimitri, to me, I don't think it matters how much effort it took to get there. We just need to be there, right? I think that should be the goal, is attaining what, in 70% is probably just a made up number, right? Attaining whatever level of confidence we feel like we need to achieve. So whether that's, a 12-second conversation with your buddy, or that's a 4-month research effort, it doesn't matter. What does matter is getting above that confidence level.
Yeah, totally understand that. My intention with this, perhaps now that you say it like that, is that so we're building our trust fund basically, right? With product management, with the rest of the organization, that if we can say, because the better way to say this, we are not able to for every issue to say, all right, we're always going to be above 70%. Say for the issues that we want to implement, whether we're below, that would require research to be done, we do not have an infinite amount of availability to actually do that research, right? So then there's going to be a choice. But I would say that we can communicate in the long term towards the rest of the organization that, hey, we are making considerable returns on investments on issues that have been validated. We need more people to do them, and in that way, tracking validation efforts properly would be very valuable. While if we're just going off and doing whatever, then we could happen so that, hey, we only allow for issues that we are 70% higher on confidence, but then the hard issues won't be tackled because we cannot, there will only be a small amount of hard issues that we can get in, while those do offer the best return of investment potentially.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense.
Those things makes a lot of sense. I think this is definitely a larger issue. So I think we should let's wrap up here, but let's definitely make a note to talk more about this in the next one, because I think there's more things to explore here. All right, so jumping onto the next one. How often do we as product designers join user interview sessions with Lori? Nadi is saying that she has been in a couple, and it's mostly Lori and her. And yeah, so she's curious about that. I know that I did a problem validation with Lori, and I really tried to go through most of the calls that she had, and that was super helpful. But I haven't had more research with her lately, so yeah, curious maybe Lori can talk about first, talk about this first, like why is this valuable and why like we should be there. Yeah, maybe you guys can like chime in after that.
Yeah, well, I think, except for Ian, who does all of his wonderful work on his own, I think everybody on the call here has been in a session with me, except for Jackie, because she started after I finished all the things. So you guys have seen, you know, how the sessions go, and Nadia and I have talked, and from her perspective, she finds it very valuable to see how I moderate and how I take notes and how I can switch the conversation to a completely unrelated question with you know, as you go through. And she's also found it valuable to be able to be there and ask me questions to ask the person as well. And I find that valuable as heck, because I have only been here since June. I do not have a lot of deep product knowledge. And that's why I also prefer to have the product managers there too, because they do have that deep product knowledge, so they can help me to understand maybe some obtuse thing that the person just said, or they can provide other questions that I can ask. So from my perspective, it's valuable to have you guys there. I also know that I live in America, and sometimes I have sessions in the afternoon that nobody else can come to, and I always apologize for that. My current state of my calendar is I have about 4 to 5 hours of meetings every morning. So when I have sessions, I can only have them in the afternoons, which I know kicks Ian and Dimitri out by default, because I wouldn't want anybody up that late to watch any user sessions. So when I can schedule them in the morning, I will, because I know I can capture everybody on the phone call when I can do that. But I'm also at the mercy of the participants too. If they can't make it in the morning, then I have to talk to them when I can.
Lori, do you think it could be valuable if we can find one of those magic special interviews that are actually in the morning for you and in our afternoon, that you could invite all of us and we could kind of have a panel session that could be a fun learning opportunity with Nadia to actually see how you do it, and then maybe a follow-up where we can ask you questions about why you did things one way? Or would that be interesting to anybody else? And Lori, what do you think about that?
I certainly don't have a problem with it. We have a UX research calendar in Google. I think it's called UX Research, and you can find it and put it on your calendar. So anybody who's doing research should be adding that calendar to the invite, so everybody can see that there's research happening, because it's open to the whole company if anybody wanted to pop in and watch. But yeah, I don't have anything currently scheduled, because you know we're going into the December time for Christmas, but January maybe. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. I think it's very clear what's the action item. Join those sessions; they are very helpful. And I think I talked with Nadia about this as well before. And I think the reason why it's important, Lori already mentioned this, but sometimes you as a designer or like the PM when they join too, like we have more context of like the product or like specific features or things that the customer is saying, and then we can actually make that conversation like more meaningful and extract more information. And I have done it with Lori, and like actually like you don't even need to chime in, like you just like Lori does it pretty well. She opens a Slack group or whatever you want to call it, and then you send the questions over to Lori, and Lori asks on your behalf, right, Lori? That's more or less how to do it. So yeah,
that's usually how I do it. Yeah, so the person doesn't get overwhelmed with like all the people talking at them.
Exactly. So I think the action item from this is join those sessions and try to participate like in whatever way you want to participate. Maybe with the method that I just described, because it's very efficient, and then like try to get more information out of that. All right, so moving on to the next one. So Contribute 2020 UX CI/CD get together plans. So I don't know, like first of all, did you guys already book your flights? I know the deadline was December 1st, so I hope you did. So
I did, but I asked for a delay.
Lucky. I won't be there. I'll be there Sunday afternoon, so I don't know if I could come early.
Okay,
yeah same for me.
Yeah, so same for me. I already I'll be Sunday too.
Can we
Yeah.
recommend that? Because I was thinking of joining this other trip, which is until the 22nd. Like, I want to know if it's gonna, like, if we're gonna do this thing or not, because based on that, I will make a decision to either join the others or not.
So I think from what I'm hearing, it's not gonna happen on Saturday. Like most of the people in this group are gonna be arriving on Sunday. So yeah, just it's up to
Do we know
you.
which times?
I'll be arriving like at 2 p.m. on Sunday. I don't know what else for you guys.
I think I get there at noon 30.
What is noon on 9:30?
Oh, noon 12:30. 12:30 in
Okay,
the
so
afternoon.
12:30.
And I think I get into the airport at 1:30 on Sunday. So then I have to make my way to the hotel.
All right. Yeah. So maybe there's potentially like some time to just meet for like a dinner or something that night. I don't know, just like do some like team bonding. But
Sounds good. Yeah, this is amazing.
yeah,
Oh,
but
sorry.
it seems that the Saturday thing is not happening. So let's maybe on the next one, let's plan something for Sunday. And because it seems that everyone is gonna be on Sunday early, so maybe there's like some opportunity to meet on Sunday Eve, right? So I think that's
Yeah,
I think Sunday might be a real opportunity.
Yeah, Mike, are you coming?
We're still trying to figure that out.
Oh, with the girls.
I thought yes, and I've been saying yes, but we're trying to figure out what to do with children for a week.
Yeah. I know, right? Where's like that 24-hour daycare, like the pets? You just check them into the vet.
I was thinking about just wearing, I can wear the little one, but the 4-year-old's hard to wear.
Yes.
well, Mike. Hopefully, you can make it. You can figure that out, because it will be amazing to meet you all guys, real life. All right. So Nadi is asking, should we make these sessions weekly? I don't know. That's a good question. We have them.
What are they now?
I think right now they are every 2 weeks.
I'll jump in and say it. I can. Oh, sorry. I think I interrupted everyone.
No, go ahead.
I personally like it every other week because on opposite weeks is when I sync individually with all my team members. So having to add this on top every week would be really difficult for me, especially for the full hour, because it kind of intersects that one time zone where I can talk to everybody on my team. I don't know if anybody else has
I think bi-weekly is all right. Like then we can communicate considerable amount of times. I would say this is all right, but
yeah, I agree. I think okay. So first of all, we also have the review session, and that's like next week. So like we have like review session, and then we have weekly meeting, bi-weekly meeting, right? So I think we're actually as a team, we're already weekly meeting like every week. So I think for now we just should keep it like that. Let's allow 2019 to wrap up, and then like when 2020 comes, maybe we can reconsider these. So for now, yeah.
By the way, Ian, I thought you had somewhere documented the action item for Nadia earlier in this meeting. I did not see it anymore. Did you like move it somewhere else, or?
It's entirely possible I started typing and then got distracted by the conversation and abandoned whatever I was doing. I'm not like Lori. I have not perfected the art of typing and talking at the same time.
You know what? I'm really bad at this kind of thing where I'm an active participant in discussing with like 18 people. No, I can't take notes. So
I feel a little better now.
I can do that. Yeah, don't worry.
All right, we have 4 minutes before we gotta jump. So Mike, you have an item there, which I don't know what it is. So can you walk us through that?
It's probably best just to move this to next week.
Okay.
When Nadia is here, it was really a question for her. I saw that she created she created the team, and then she added 2 projects, one for team, and then one is called CI/CD testing project. And it sounded like this is where we're going to do a test bed, but I really just want to know, like, if there's any plans with it, if this was just a general space, what we were going to do with it. I had some thoughts that maybe we could set up a page example on there, and then there also is, we have a company GKE account that we could potentially connect that to, but probably just dive into that more next week.
Okay, that's perfect. So, so just one more thing that I would like to mention. So, it's December. There's a lot of holidays coming, like New Year's Eve, Christmas, all that stuff. Probably you guys have plans around that, and some of those dates like fall around our meeting times and whatever. So I think it would be a good idea if you have plans around that to just put in your time off already if you haven't. I haven't. I have to do that, and I'm probably gonna take like some days on the Christmas week because based on that we might need to reschedule / cancel some of these meetings. So yeah, please do that because I don't think that was included in the agenda, but I think it's important to mention that part. So I'm gonna put
I can add, the package team has in their like weekly agenda a really nice thing that you just put at the top. I'm gonna add it. I'm talking while typing. Look at me go, already learning. That's just a place to put kind of active PTO.
Oh, nice.
So as you can see, like here's the PTO for everyone upcoming. And then we just have internally as a team, like when you've accomplished your PTO-ness, it's your responsibility to remove it off of the agenda. That way just everyone kind of knows what's coming up. It's really handy. I don't know if you all want to do that as well, but.
Can you repeat? I have no idea what is being suggested.
Oh yeah, can you go to the top of the agenda and you'll see an upcoming PTO calendar? I just pasted this from our agenda on the package team, and this is how we track that kind of upcoming time off.
So I have an opinion about this because we're doing it in the CI team meeting as well. And this is, like, I think it's easily mismanaged because a lot of people need to check in and think about this and update it. And now I would have this place to update. I would have another place to update. I would have to update my PTO. Like, it is not a single source of truth. And I think it's easily done wrong, so to say.
I think, I'm just trying to think, is there a way to actually like just put like upcoming PTO or maybe like a deep link to, I'm just trying to think if this is possible. It would be kind of cool if it's possible. But a click to Slack that already has the Ninja command, so you can just check if that person is out or not. I don't know, whatever.
You can check that with PTO, but it would be nice if there was, for example, just a I think PTO Ninja is great, but it doesn't yet offer a lot of visibility in each other's out of office being if dedicated to a certain agenda amount of participants. Like, that would be great if we can do something like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think for the holidays we probably wanna just put your times in, and then we can talk about how we communicate our times off, like among this group. All right, but yeah, I think that's a wrap up. Like, we are on time, so thanks everyone for joining, and have a great weekend.
Thanks. Bye, y'all.
Right. Bye.
Bye.